Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, the 5th of November. It's the last breakfast with Tiffany before the election on Tuesday. My voice is slowly coming back, though still not top form. Um, it's been an interesting run so far. So, for those of you who are new, I see people coming in. This uses the same general format as the Tuesday town halls. I usually start off talking about whatever has happened since the last event that we've had. And you can put your questions, comments, concerns in the chat. If they are something that doesn't fit in seamlessly, I'll either finish what I'm talking about or I'll just stop what I'm talking about. It's usually not super important, and answer the question. If I can weave it into the question, I will. It has been, oh my gosh, it's been a journey. So since we last met, I have had a cold the whole time. It's slowly starting to get better. I'm getting a little bit of my voice back. I didn't have any in-person events this week, which was good. I did have to skip recording a podcast. I was on the radio sounding worse than this, so that was not the most charming radio appearance that I've done, but I showed up despite the fact that I sounded ridiculous. Things that have been coming up this week. This last week, Bruce Poliquin has been including me in his ads. And it's funny, the first one that I was sent had me as like the independent, as if I'm not an independent. Because I'm clearly in some random party that doesn't actually exist, that I haven't been affiliated with for decades. But I thought it was funny. The first kind of mailer that I saw was downplaying me, like, here's my substance and here's being out, way out there and wild, and here's Tiffany, she just didn't offer any substance, but if you pick her first, go ahead and pick me as number 2, because the Republicans are starting to learn that the ranked choice voting system requires you to collaborate better. Good job, thank you. I think over time it'll make you be less jerky to the other candidates. Please do more of that. And if you have a race with 3 people in it, you need to appeal to the number 2 voters of the candidate you are most like, even if you're in the lead. Jared Golden's not going to break 50%. He should be appealing to my voters too, And when I say my, people control their own vote, it's shorthand. I don't think that I in any way own the people that choose me as their number 1. I think that they identify me with me best, and it's just much shorter than putting all that one sentence. I don't have to listen to that sentence over and over and over again. So then a second mailer was sent to me where the air quotes had been dropped. I was no longer an independent. I was just independent. And they were quoting me as a source for something that I said that wasn't particularly nice about Jared Golden, but he'd earned it. That, he would throw us in the bus, and he would, and he has. I mean, issues that have been really important and that he ran on and getting elected the first time have just magically disappeared. He actually ran a pretty progressive campaign in 2018, and now there's just like no talk at all of healthcare, and there's no talk at all of the support network, and there's no talk at all of a lot of the things that he really talked about a lot in 2018. And now he's all like budget, unless it's military, and then he's like cash, right? Like there's just a lot of stuff in his campaigns that are very pandering. He was concerned to an extent about weapons in 2018, and now he might as well throw a mullet on like the people he's drinking beer with, and that's fine if that's who he wants to be. That's just not who he told us he was when he got elected. I just think it's very funny that suddenly I become an independent source that's kind of like factual and credible when I'm saying something a little snarky but true about Golden. And I hope that the takeaway that the Republicans get from this is you gotta stop being jerks. You're not going to get elected in a ranked choice system if you're a jerk. I may not always be as kind as I could be about the other candidates because the policies that they are proposing are legitimately harmful to people, and that is not acceptable. But I don't call them names. I don't go out of my way to say horrible things about them and their personal lives. Kind of their spouses and their children are off limits. Um, my criticisms are fair. They're not ridiculous. So, you know, Bruce likes to call Jared a radical left wing. Jared's not a radical left wing. In fact, the problem is he's kind of gone from milk toast to mullet. I mean, it's not super helpful for, again, the residents of the Maine. I think he's really pandering to, the 20 to 50-year-old male loves guns, but that is not what the majority of rural Maine is. The majority of rural Maine is aging seniors and families that saw, either grew up there and they're multi-generational, or saw that they could maybe afford a little bit of land out there and moved out with their kids, and they're struggling. We've got a lot of farmers. We've got a lot of people that are barely making it. We have a lot of people that either because they were struggling and have mental health issues, or because they had an on-the-job injury, have gotten addicted to different drugs. I mean, we've got some real problems in rural Maine, and like beer and guns don't fix them. So it's funny to watch the matchups. I think that I'm objectively miles ahead of the gentleman when it comes to policy. Jared can probably shoot a gun better than I can. I can probably shoot one better than Bruce, because I have actually used weapons in my life before. I don't know. I mean, but I don't think that those are skills that are relevant for Congress. Maybe they're skills that make you want to hang out with the person that goes to Congress, but I don't really want to hang out with my congressional rep. I just want them to go do the job well. I'm going to have to be drinking tea a little bit more during today, so I don't entirely lose my voice. So yeah, it's interesting to see the shift. I have not been quiet at all about my predictions. In fact, I'm getting substantially louder and more bold about them in the last few weeks. Bruce Pelican will not beat Jared Golden in a head-to-head. Statistically, it's very improbable. I can beat Jared Golden in a head-to-head, but that would require me to bounce ahead of Bruce Pelican. The polls that the phone polls that they're doing have me at 8 or 9%, but other polls. So we did a mock election. I think I covered this in our last video meeting. That had me closer to 26%, and that actually puts me within striking distance. That puts me, as closer to Bruce Pelican as Bruce Pelican is to Jared Golden. So that gives me as good of odds of winning as Bruce in that particular. That wasn't a poll. That was a mock election that had about 10,000, slightly under 10,000, but very close to 10,000 students participating. So, that is something that is meaningful, and I think that it gives us a real possibility of winning. I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh my gosh, you're the underdog. Why are you running?" There's a lot of reasons, but it boils down to we're broken. If we have a system where the person who is the most competent in the race, I don't think I'm the most competent generally. I mean, I try to be competent. I aim for kind. I aim for reasonable. I don't always succeed. There's probably people who are better at that than me, but they're not in this race. If we don't have those candidates in a race, then we're just left with the ridiculous screaming and shrieking of politics, where they're throwing millions of dollars for no substance and they're accomplishing nothing, which reflects what they're doing in Congress too. We have a system that doesn't hold our Congress accountable, and we have a system that really isn't a democracy. That bothers me a lot. So I feel like at least I'm giving folks an option to say, nope, we're stepping off. I'm not going to do that anymore. It's ridiculous. It's harmful to our children and our future. It's giving us a system that the average person can't participate in. And if the average person can't participate in it, it's not democracy. If you have to have millions of dollars and be hand selected by a party to run, it's not a democracy. That's not what we have anymore. So that bothers me. That's why I run in, and because we're broken and we need better policy. So the election is coming up Tuesday. I have some small, quiet, private events coming up. Hopefully, I'll be able to attend. Hopefully, either tomorrow. Hopefully, my voice will clear up by then. I didn't have anything planned for today other than just going to my normal sort of errands. And my normal errands are campaigning, right? My normal errands are I might hit a farmer's market or go to an event or a festival, or I usually take my kids with me at least one of the days, because it's important to me that we have people running who are authentic. And that's genuinely how I spend my time. I genuinely do shop like at the Lewiston's farmer's market, although I haven't that much this year. I did earlier in the year. I haven't that much since since we got into September, but all summer, I genuinely shop there. I'm genuinely there doing it. We actually have to pick up a tent. We have a tent up in the mountains right now that needs to be picked up, which is probably what we're doing later today. And that means that we'll stop by Rangeley and we'll say hi to our neighbors at the market like we normally do, and we'll pick up our groceries in Lewiston, after we do the tent. We should be electing neighbors. We should be electing people who understand us, and we should be electing people who will be good for the job. Right now, that's not what we're doing. Right now, it's a spending competition, and it's ugly, and it's getting us a really bad system of governance. And this horrible horse race that we're caught in. Maine's fortunate, not because I'm amazing, but because we have ranked choice voting that a lot of people worked really hard to go in. We have the ability in Maine in this election to change all of election politics, all of politics in the United States this year. We can go in and we can say, look, money doesn't buy Maine. Here's a candidate that won for less than $5,000. Screw you all and the horse you rode in on. We don't need to play your reindeer games anymore. We're going to elect the person we think is best for the job. And if in a couple years somebody who's even better than me comes along, great, I'll go back to practicing law, or I'll stay in the job if nobody else comes along that's better than me. I think that we should have people in this job that are the most thoughtful, the most deliberative, the most kind, the most focused on benefiting us. And every person who gets into this job should be a step up from the last person. Right now, we're on a downward spiral, and I don't want our democracy to go down the toilet. I don't want us to be in a position where we vote for the lesser of two evils so often that all that's left is awful. So we've had a few people jump in. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I apologize for my voice. Drop them in the chat. That's how I take questions for these events. And I'm happy to answer them. We start off a little bit by just me talking about what's happened since our last video town hall, and kind of what's happened during the week. We've been talking about the Republicans starting to learn the ranked choice voting strategy. Not learning it very fast, but they're coming on board. And it's strategy that both parties honestly should have learned years ago. We've had ranked choice voting since 2018. They should have learned this years ago. They should have learned it in 2020. In 2020, what we saw is the race with Sarah Gideon and Susan Collins. They didn't learn it to their detriment. That was a race where literally they had more money than they could possibly spend, and someone's still sitting on several $1 million. Classy. And it didn't work. People ended up voting for Susan Collins. I think not necessarily because they love Susan Collins, but because they were like, enough. You can't just make this a non-substantive auction. And that's what a lot of politics has become. And it is very, very problematic. So if you need to vote and you haven't registered or you haven't updated your registration, Maine has same-day voter registration, which is awesome. When I drug my husband down to vote for the first time here, it was a nice experience for him because it didn't require registering quite a bit in advance. Allison has said good morning and a few hours left until Election Day. I know. I'm hoping my voice will hold out. It is not been a good week for my voice. This is probably the longest sore throat I've ever had. There's lots of really nasty bugs going around right now. This is not COVID. I've gone through multiple COVID tests, definitely not COVID. But there's a lot of other stuff going around, so be careful out there. We have our kids in masks in school so that they're catching less of this, and they've gotten a little bit, they'd let their guard down a bit, and our whole house got this. I mean, masks work if you have high quality masks. They're annoying, but they're less annoying than this. So, and they've been used for decades in places like, in Asia uses them. They've used them for decades, and it's a polite thing to do. I think I might be wearing masks inside in the fall for the foreseeable future because it's just not fun. Allison has her own race that she's doing. So good luck to you and enjoy your last few hours. I am certainly looking to those hours going swiftly. We're down to the point. So when I had my oldest, I went to law school. I went to my classes that day. We went out to dinner at Outback, which we don't have anymore in Maine. Probably good for my waistline because those cheese fries were my pregnancy craving, and I'm sure that I still have several pounds remaining on me from those cheese fries. Then I went to the hospital and gave birth right afterwards, or in the morning. I went into labor, went in the morning, gave birth to him, and I was back in law school less than 100 hours later, and we're almost there, like almost that gap that I had in my life. And it was a very interesting 100-hour period of time, and this feels sort of similar. Allison also says there's an RSV bloom in Skowhegan, and it's scary for little ones. Yeah, we've got, I'm gonna have to cough. I'm sorry. Trying to not make you witness too much of the coughing. We've got a lot of stuff going around. My children got a whooping cough notice. So pertussis is in the state now. Yay. I hope you all have gotten vaccinated because that can be super scary. We've got RSV going around. That can be super scary. A lot of little ones are too young to be vaccinated for that. I mean, I think that we've spent a lot of time this year fighting over the efficacy of this relatively new vaccine. And we've forgotten how much vaccines have really, really, really helped us. In case anybody has forgotten, vaccines have really, really, really helped us. We look at average lifespans from like the Middle Ages, and it's not that we didn't have old people; it's that kids died. Lots of kids died. So there's also some strains of COVID going around that are more dangerous for children, although I don't know if they've made it here yet. So yeah, be polite, be kind, keep your distance from others, stay in well-ventilated spaces. No matter what it is, that helps. The ventilation helps. We've got a lot of airborne things. Make sure that you just keep a little distance from people. Excuse me. That's just good cold and flu season hygiene anyway. So we were talking about same-day voter registration. The cat we have is a little nuts. There she is. Give me just a sec. Cat, get down from there, please. She's hanging off our key box, which is not a great thing to do. So we have same-day voter registration. If your driver's license matches your current address, you're pretty good to go on that, but you might want to bring with you other things that you need. There's a list on the Secretary of State's website, some utility bills, if you need to update or change your voter registration. I can tell you, as somebody who has the 2nd Congressional districts, excuse me, coughing is worse in the morning. somebody who has the voter registration for the 2nd Congressional District that's fairly up to date. I got one in August and then another one a week or two ago. There are a lot of people who have not updated their voter registration. So now is a good time to do it. When you're voting is a good time to do it. It is, I've gotten a lot of mailers back. So the way that I've been campaigning this year, I have done some door knocking. I've certainly done events. We do 2 of these a week, 2 of the video town halls a week. Obviously I attended all the debates that went on. But one of the things that I've been doing is I've been having volunteers write out postcards, and then I've personally written out note cards, and I have gotten a huge amount of those back. I was adding it up though, between all the signatures I got running for office and the folks I talked to, and this is kind of a thumb in the air guess, and all of the people I've sent cards to, and all the people I've met at events, and the emails and the phone calls, I've probably connected with over 10,000 voters this year. And then I've met some other folks in previous years. So I wasn't able to hit all 540-ish thousand voters in the district, but hopefully if those folks, I'll tell a few friends, then sorry, we've got quite a highway going through here. On the other side of this computer is kind of the main walkway for the living room, and I've got cats and dogs and kids right now that have just been going through, which is usually they're not awake this early, are they, little monkey? No. All right. I haven't had a lot of questions today. My voice is not going to last. If my voice is better, I'm going to try and do another town hall, I think, on Monday in advance of the election. If not, this might be the last time we see each other on video before the election. I hope you have a really good weekend. It's supposed to be warm and gorgeous today, warmer than it should be. Not a great part of climate change. And will I be at the polls on Tuesday? No, I will not probably be at the polls on Tuesday. I might go to some. Sorry, the dog has found me. Maybe for a little bit. Excuse me, I'm going to go off the camera here. You do not need to see that. I will probably be maybe at a poll for a little bit, but it's a school night. I'm definitely not going to be there at close because I have to get the kids ready for school. This race is going to go to ranked choice voting. It's like 90% certainty. And so we're not going to have results in this race anyway, so I'm not having any sort of to-do. And it's a school night. Something to be with kids. I have a lot of work to do that day too. So I might try to squeak out. Sorry, I'm trying to avoid a coughing fit here. I'm so sorry you guys are seeing this. I might have a few hours at the polls, but not all day, not a marathon, because I have other life responsibilities. And I think that that's something we should probably look for in people, is people who have other life responsibilities. Anyway, I am going to go before I have this coughing fit and get the dog out for the morning. If you need me for anything, you know how to find me. Send me an email. Find me on social media. Please don't take off to my dog and crawl into my lap. That's a little bit much. And have a happy election, everyone. I feel like I'm going to get pig piled on here in about 15 seconds between the dog and the kids and the cat. So I hope you have a great Saturday, and I'm going to take care of this bundle of love. And yeah, thank you, Allison. I hope I feel better soon too. I'm usually not sick for this long. So have a good one. I'll see you at the polls, I guess. Bye. Oh my goodness, dog. I'm trying to turn this off.